All right, everybody. I want to thank everyone that's come out, especially those that have supported BLM, Des Moines BLM all summer. Just to run down some of the things we've accomplished. We've accomplished getting the curfew ended, a racist curfew ended. We accomplished getting all of our protesters out of the Polk County Jail. We accomplished a racial profiling ban here in Des Moines. We accomplished the Planet for a More Perfect Union statewide. We got 60,000 people their rights to vote back. And we've established, also Iowa City has done a lot of work on police accountability. The only city council to force their police department to release body footage of tear gassing people. The only people to get that level of accountability. And we have institutionalized a direct action movement. And that is bigger than any of those one things, is that the tools that got us those amendments to the system is going to sit here and exist indefinitely. And that's that's some claps. That's the most important part of what we've built so far. With that being said, I want to get started. Throughout the history of this state and country, the oftentimes overwhelming celebrations of democracy, governance, and civil liberties that many Americans and most Iowans enjoy have come at the expense of the Black humanity whose relationship to this nation was forged not in liberty, but in bondage. Iowa's failure to recognize this history has led to the neglect of Black Iowan communities, which today suffer from staggering disparities in victimhood, disease, education, housing, poverty, state-sanctioned violence, and other forms of authorized force. In September, the body of Michael Williams was found burning in a ditch in Jasper County, Iowa. Rather than investigate this murder as a hate crime, which it was, the Grinnell Police Department declared that race had nothing to do with the incident. The Iowa-Nebraska chapter of the NAACP echoed this statement to our disappointment. It is so wrong that in 2020, a Black man was clearly lynched and law enforcement refused to investigate it as such. In response, a coalition of community organizations in central and eastern Iowa have taken the responsibility of caring for, supporting, and protecting Black communities in Iowa and the Black lives that inhabit them. Representatives from the Central Iowa Center for Independent Living, Central Iowa Democratic Socialists of America, the Des Moines Black Liberation Movement, Des Moines Mutual Aid, Iowa Coalition for Collective Change, the Iowa Freedom Riders, Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition, Mothers Against Violence, Shop Black Des Moines, Union of Black America, and other community stakeholders have discussed an adequate response to the stated conditions which Black Iowans are forced to endure.
This coalition finds it necessary to recognize the following: the assaults, disappearances, lynching, and subsequent cover-ups of Black Iowans are all alarming, if not traumatizing, for the Black community. Attacks and actions against Darquan Jones, Stephanie Hinton, Breasia Terrell, Makita Scott, Abdullahi Abdi Sharif, and Michael Williams all happened in 2020. This pandemic of racial violence against the Black community is made worse by law enforcement agencies that are ill-equipped to ensure our safety. Black people in Iowa make up 4% of the total population, but 31% of the victims of gun violence. Right now, only 3% of Iowa's resources earmarked for victim services are targeted specifically at Black communities. We believe that both public and private resources should be focused on victim services targeted in Black communities. Black communities have been systematically exposed to the spread of COVID-19, and as a result have suffered from disproportionate rates of infection and death. In the wake of COVID-19, Black Iowans have experienced far higher rates of joblessness and eviction than any of our non-Black peers. We also want to make sure we shed light on Black maternal mortality in Iowa and the need for more doula support in our communities. African Americans are more likely to have low birth weight infants. We experience infant mortality at 3 times the rate of white families. Maternal mortality in the state has more than doubled in the past 3 years. And because Iowa does not disaggregate maternal mortality data by race, all of the numbers are unclear. Black communities were disproportionately affected by the derecho storm, not only in exposure to damage, but in the stark difference in relief efforts between Black communities and other communities in Iowa. We want to specifically highlight the African refugee community in Cedar Rapids, whose housing was completely destroyed and who were abandoned by their state government without power, running water, food, or shelter for days on end.
As Black Iowans and their allies have come together in solidarity, collective action, and protest, the response from local and state governments have been one characterized by aggression and violence. In seeking safety, Black Iowans have had to put their bodies on the line against law enforcement officers who have been armed for battle. These issues represent an essential threat to the future of our communities. It is for these reasons that we have come together to declare a state of emergency for Black Iowans. Hashtag Black Emergency Iowa.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Our coalition has gathered a handful of action steps that will allow us to address these issues in an immediate and hands-on manner. First, it is important to recognize Iowa as a sundown state, meaning it is not safe for Black residents to travel alone, especially at night. We recommend the following to Black Iowans. 1. Black Iowans should do their best to travel in parties of 2 or more. 2. Always tell somebody where you are going and when you plan to return. 3. Be prepared to escape, hide, or defend yourself in a worst-case scenario. Second, we urge Black residents to know your rights. Know your rights at home, in the car, when filming the police, and when carrying a registered firearm. You have the right to remain silent. Ask if you are under arrest. Ask if you are free to go. Do not resist arrest. If you plan to carry a registered firearm, seek out proper weapons training and education. Third, we urge Black residents to get involved with their community. Register to vote. Join and support Black organizations. Shop at Black-owned businesses. We urge all Iowans to start mutual aid projects and support direct actions which defend the livelihoods of Black people. It has become evident that a declaration of emergency is necessary in order to recognize the issues that Black Iowans face and insist that state and local governments, non-governmental organizations, and community members alike do their part in making Iowa safe for its Black residents. This coalition will continue to organize around these action steps and urge all community and government organizations alike to come to the table and address this state of emergency. For updates and more information, follow hashtag Black Emergency IA on social media. Black Lives Matter. Black safety matters. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. I just want to add one more thing. With this declaration of a state of emergency for Black Iowans, we are also calling on all local elected officials, from city elected officials to state representatives to Governor Reynolds to our federal elected officials in Congress and the Senate, to join with us in recognizing the state of emergency for Black Iowans and reacting with the resources that are necessary to help combat this. Thank you all for attending this press conference. We will now open the floor up to questions.
Could you speak up?
Sorry. Our readers, the Des Moines Register, are a little confused about why the organization changed its name from BLM, from Black Lives Matter to BLM.
Yeah, so just so we know, we're going to repeat all the questions through the mic so that everyone hears them. The question was that essentially what was the decision to change Des Moines Black Lives Matter to the Des Moines Black Liberation Movement? I want to say first that it's not a denouncement of Black Lives Matter, the organization, the phrase. In fact, we continue to organize around the banner and the idea that our lives do in fact matter. But when we're talking about the overall goal, the political goal, liberation is the goal for Black people. That means being liberated from institutions which subject us, period. And so we wanted to make sure that we reflected that not only were we valuing our lives, but we are dismantling the systems that keep us oppressed.
Do you have any questions about the state of emergency?
Hey, Matthew, can you just talk a little bit about what, again, rather without reading it, what you want people to know about this?
About the emergency?
Yeah.
I don't think I need to.
I just need somebody to say so that it's not being read. So could you just kind of reiterate just for me?
What about a black woman? Is a black woman want to speak?
Anyone want to? I think
All right. Okay, so your question is?
Why is it? What's the main point you want people to take away from this today?
The main point that we want people to take away from this today is that Black Iowa is in a state of emergency. All of the things that we talked about, the derecho, the violence that we've experienced, the infant mortality rate, the maternal mortality crisis, all of those things together, COVID-19, thank you, Jalen, all of those things together pose a threat to the Black community. And we need people to come together to provide resources, and we need to keep each other safe. We need public resources, we need private resources to ensure the future of our communities. Does that?
Could you say and spell your name too?
Yes, my name is Luana, Luana, Nelson, Nelson -Brown, BROWN, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Coalition for Collective Change.
Everyone needs to speak here. Tell your title when you go up too.
Do you have any more questions, Reka?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, so the question was, are we going to put together a packet of city ordinances and proposals for legislators to consider? So we have been doing that somewhat with all of the demands that BLM has been making throughout the summer. All of those have been with the intent to solve some of these systemic issues that we're talking about here at this press conference today. We are putting together resources for the community that will help them. We also will be working on legislative work as well to address some of these issues, and we will be presenting those, yes.
Can I speak on some of the ones we already... this coalition has already spoke on the need for eviction moratoriums to be supported across the state, the need for victim services to be targeted towards Black communities specifically. We've talked about the needs for economic grants. We've talked about the need for rent relief and other relief for bills like direct relief. So we have begun to discuss those and put them forward, and you can kind of see in the document what we're suggesting already. But yes, we'll be moving forward too with more demands as well. Thank you.
Yes.
So the group is essentially what you're saying, essentially what the group is saying here, that a lot of the public money that's spent on violence and on gun violence in Black communities is directed towards people who are the victims of guns. So what can you clarify exactly?
Sure, I can clarify that. Right now, victim services money goes specifically, state money goes specifically for domestic violence and sexual assault. The majority of that fund goes to white communities. There is a compensation fund for victims of homicide and other violent crime. However, that fund is funded by fines and penalties. The state itself does not give money for victims of homicide and other violent crime. Right now, that the money that we do have comes through the federal government, not the state government. We feel like the state has a responsibility, particularly since Black Americans are 1/3 of all homicide victims in the state. The state has a responsibility to provide resources for those families, most of which are our families. Does that answer?
Yeah, that helps clarify.
Thank you. There is one other thing that I believe we'll be asking for as well. Right now, there is a death review team for domestic violence homicide. We need a death review team for Black American homicide.
Just want to drive home that point once again, that we are calling the death of Michael Williams in Grinnell a lynching. It needs to be recognized as such, and we need more information and more facts to be released about this case.
Any other questions?
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to my sister Buffy from the Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition.
Hello. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the state of queer and trans people of color, specifically Black queer and trans people. Black queer and trans people are willfully and purposefully left out of resources targeted at people of color, as well as resources made specifically for LGBT folks. Even though Black queer and trans people are always the ones at the forefront, risking their lives and using their resiliency and survival tactics to uplift both the queer community and the Black community at large. In fact, the international Black Lives Matter movement / organization was started by Black queer women. The LGBT movement, as we see it today, was started by Black and brown trans women. We, Black queer and trans people, are also the first ones to be called upon when the rest of the community wants free education, when there is some quota to be met in order to show the world how enlightened and inclusive an organization or group is, or when folks are scared enough to finally ask our opinions on what we as a state and country should do to protect ourselves and our rights. This is erasure, this is tokenism, and this is violence. Additionally, those who have multiple marginalized identities tend to be at greater risk for facing disparities in healthcare, housing, and employment. They are also often at greater risk of being targets of physical, emotional, and psychological violence. Specifically, there is an epidemic of violence against Black trans women that has been widely ignored. And when it is spoken about, it is only in passing and as an FYI, as opposed to being made a main point of communal, organizational, and governmental focus. This is unacceptable. I refuse to sit back and wait and wonder which of our Black trans siblings we are going to lose next. Black trans lives matter. It is not just a mantra. It must be a rallying call with specific action items, funding, and leaders, specifically Black trans leaders, behind it. And the community must back these Black trans leaders up and be ready to step in front of them and shield them if necessary. Black, queer, and trans people are not stepping stones or bridges for the community at large to step on their way to their own liberation. So to those in the non-Black LGBT community, those in the cisgender heterosexual Black community, and those in the community at large, I kindly ask that you get your feet off of our backs and instead stand next to us, or better yet, you do some of the heavy lifting for once. If you are a Black, queer, or trans person, or a queer and trans person of color in general, who is in need of support and or community, please reach out to the Iowa Queer Communities of Color Coalition. Your safety and well-being are important. And to the Black, queer, and trans community specifically, you matter. And we are here for you. Thank you.
So powerful. Who wants to speak now? All right, next up we'll have the representatives from Central Iowa DSA. No. Des Moines Mutual Aid? No.
Mutual aid's here.
Okay, yeah, Des Moines Mutual Aid.
Hi, I'm Patrick Stoll with Des Moines Mutual Aid. Des Moines Mutual Aid is a collective that does outreach for homeless folks in our community, houseless folks in our community. We also assist BLM with their rent relief fund. And most of the work that we've done is running the bail fund for the protests over the summer. In the course of that work, we have witnessed firsthand the violence that is done upon people of color, Black people specifically, by the white supremacist forces of the state in this state, in this city, in this county. There is absolutely a state of emergency for people of color and Black people in Iowa. The state of emergency has been a long time coming. We will support, DMMA will absolutely support any and all efforts of this community, BLM and the people of color community more generally, to keep themselves safe. Power to the people.
Yeah. Up next, we're going to have a representative from Iowa Coalition for Collective Change.
That's me again. For the most part, I think I've said most everything that I need to say. I do want to just add that while we do think the state has a responsibility to provide funding for victim services for survivors of homicide and violent crime, specifically in the Black community, we don't want to stop there. Private resources are also necessary, especially until we can get to session to get any of this cleared up. So if you have a private foundation, be sure to reach out to us and provide resources. And if you are a Black-led nonprofit and you know you work with victims of crime, because that's how our community does. We do grassroots work and we don't get funding for it. If that is you, reach out to us so that we can work together and hopefully get some resources for your organization as well. Thank you.
All right, up next we're going to have Kiara Warner from Des Moines BLM.
Okay. Just a little bit. Okay, so as you said, my name is Kiara Warner. I am part of the programming committee for Des Moines BLM. Des Moines Black Liberation Movement has been committed to contributing in ways that the government of Iowa and the United States has failed to for marginalized and vulnerable communities, and specifically Black folks. Des Moines BLM has continuously provided resourceful programs, events, and opportunities to support, uplift, and show our Black community that we are here for them. I want to take some time to highlight some of the things that Des Moines BLM has done for the Black community. Des Moines BLM has hosted events and programs that include a Juneteenth Jamboree celebration, a community garden in partnership with the Supply Hive, creating and donating COVID care kits, donating Sunday dinner meal ingredients to families, hosting a back-to-school supply drive in partnership with the Supply Hive, and most recently the creation of the Rent Relief Fund program in partnership with Des Moines Mutual Aid and Urban Dreams. Our goal is to create and circulate Black wealth by promoting Black businesses and organizations and creating easier access to resources for Black folks in the community. We call on and urge our fellow Iowans, government officials, and allies to seek out ways to provide resources to our Black community. We urge you to promote and donate to organizations that work to make the Black community thrive, and to consider spending your money at Black-owned businesses to circulate wealth in the Black community. It is past time to show up and show our support to our Black community members.
Next up, we're going to have someone from the Iowa Freedom Riders.
Hi, my name is Tina Dang, and I'm with the Iowa Freedom Riders in Iowa City.
Hello, my name is Lucetta Garza. I am part of the IFR in Iowa City. Hi, my name is Sophia Lusal. I'm one of the many organizers of Iowa Freedom Riders in Iowa City.
Hello, my name is Ala Muhammad, and I'm one of the IFR representatives.
We are here today to basically stand behind and support what every group here has said today. Not only are Black beings under attack, but Black education is under attack, Black love is under attack, Black housing is under attack, Black healthcare is under attack. We're under attack in general, and we just stand here to support what every group has said.
Also, just to give you guys a little bit about IFR, we started after the George Floyd video was released, where a few members of our organizers, wow, that was not it. A few members went to Minnesota to go help protest when it first broke out, and after that we started IFR. Black Lives Matter, but you have to believe in it. You can't just say it. Like, y'all didn't believe me when I said that, huh? When I said Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And it's time to stop walking around on eggshells on that topic. My life matter. I'm the blackest one here. My life matter. All right? You have to implement those type of beliefs into your life. And I'm speaking to the people who aren't part of the BIPOC community. You guys have to protect black lives as well. It's hard to protect our skin by ourselves, but we're still doing it 400 years later. We could use a little help here and there too.
I just want to give a moment of silence for Makeda real quick. So can we have 1 more minute of silence, please? Thank you. When we held the Makeda Vigil in Iowa City, and I saw how Makeda's mom fell to the floor, and she was just crying. It hurts. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend. It hurts. Seeing one of my own sisters die, it hurts. Knowing that she could have had help, and she didn't, it hurts. Knowing that we're standing here and it's been 400 years and we're doing it over and over again. Why? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And the thing is, people think our generation is playing. Our generation is not playing around. We're going to stop it now. We're going to end it here so that our kids don't have to do it. Because that's not it. This is not living. Why are we living in fear? That stuff is not cool. It's not at all. So what Iowa Freedom Riders is about in Iowa City is making change in Iowa City. We're seeing that doctors kill black women as much as police officers kill black men. So what we're doing is we're partnering up with the University of Iowa hospitals and White Coats for Black Lives to make that change. We're seeing how housing is affecting a lot of people of color, how they can't get to Iowa City and they live all the way in Coralville, or they live in North Liberty and then they work in Iowa City, but there's no affordable housing in Iowa City. So what we're doing is we're teaming up with the city councils in Coralville and in Iowa City to make sure that we have more affordable housing in the downtown areas. This is what I mean when I say Black Lives Matter. This is what she means when she says Black Lives Matter. This is why we stand here. We fight for those black lives that can't be here today. So when she said Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And it's not just a black Iowan problem, it's an Iowan problem at the end of the day, because black people are what we're Iowans at the end of the day. And so after this, we're not just gonna go home, we're just gonna chill, whatnot. No, we're still traumatized. Protests, we're still traumatized. Every day we're walking around the street, we're still traumatized. For what? For what? Just being black? All we ask for is equity and, you know, just human rights. Like, we're asking for too much, you know? And so, Black Lives Matter. That's all I have to say. Black Lives Matter. And I'll continue to say it. We'll continue to say it around the, when we're protesting, we'll continue to say it, shouting it from the top of our lungs, because Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter!
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 Thank you.
Thank you,
I just wanted to say, sorry, can I see this? I just wanted to say one more thing, is that going off of what Allah was saying, is that We think that we live in such a liberal state, that we're so progressive, that America's so progressive every time we see one little thing done. We praise the Louisville Police Department for even looking into Breonna Taylor's case when it should have been done in the first... What's their job? It's their job, yeah. We live in a country where black people are born with a target on their back, and instead of teaching people not to shoot, we have to teach ourselves how to hide. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I will refuse to believe that black people are in crisis. Just because we're not a big city doesn't mean that we still don't suffer, that we still don't feel this pain, that people still don't die. It's ridiculous at this point. I don't want my kids to live through the same things I lived through today. We're still facing the effects of slavery from 400 years ago. 4 centuries ago, and we're still facing the effects. Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. Y'all see my hoodie? Oh, y'all see my hoodie? Humanize my hoodie. It was started by Andre Wright. It started after Trayvon Martin, after he was shot for wearing a hoodie and having Skittles in his hands, basically. But I say all that to say support black businesses. I'm not just talking about like share their stuff on Instagram. Get out your pockets and go help them. They're starting out from nothing. They couldn't even start out. You don't know how hard it was for them to start out as a black business. Not many black businesses will thrive because America is built on. Yes. See, there's so much wrong with it. I can't even think of the first word. Support black businesses, basically. All right.
But that's a good
I just want to say that I am so tired and I am so fed up of constantly seeing my people suffering and dealing with the stereotypes and the colorism and the racism and being able not to drive home safely without getting pulled over and being profiled and being mistaken for somebody else and losing our life. And I had lost a cousin here in Burlington, Iowa in October 2017 due to police violence. And I'm so tired of hearing that blue lives matter, but what about our lives? What about us? We have to deal with this every day. We shouldn't have to teach our children to protect themselves at a certain age and to understand that we are going to be stereotyped, that we are going to be judged for the color of our skin. I believe that we should have just as much rights as anybody else in America in this world, and I am so tired of seeing the suffering, and I am not going to get no peace. I am not going to get no sleep until I see change in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sisters from the Iowa Freedom Riders. Up next, we're going to have Calvetta from Mothers Against Violence speak.
Hello, my name is Calvetta, and I started an organization called Mothers Against Violence, and what I do is help anybody that has experienced a violent crime, especially in the black community. And I really don't have too much to say because I'm just tired. I'm just here to support my community and urge everyone to support us as well. Thank you.
Up next, we're going to have Sekou from Shop Black Des Moines. How's it going, everybody? My name is Sekou Tiari, and I'm a co-founder of Shop Black Des Moines. Our mission is black economic empowerment in specific. We believe this is a direct path to race equality, poverty eradication, and inclusive economic growth. We're urging black residents to get involved with their community. Many ask, how can we get involved? You can get involved by 1, registering to vote for the November 3rd election. And if you don't do that, do your research on the local politicians and know who you're voting for. Number 2, join and support black organizations in your community. Number 3, this is something that you can do right now. Support the people that support you. Shop locally black owned and allied businesses. I'll leave you guys with this question. As a resident, born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, how many of us can name 5 black owned businesses off the top of our head without overthinking? Right. Support black businesses. Go on shopblackdsm.com. Find them. Donate to the mutual aid.
The bail fund is critically needed because we're going to be on these streets fighting on a daily basis. We don't just stop here. What was the hashtag? Black Emergency? And also donate to the rent relief. This information can be found on almost any of our social media pages. And yeah, Black Emergency IA. Thank you.
Up next, we're going to have Crystal from the Union of Black America.
Hello, my name is Crystal Freeman, and I am with the Union of Black America. And the UBA would like to take this time to call upon the Black community to reach within itself for a collective power that is necessary to keep our community safe, and to recognize that change is needed within our community and in our state will not come without an all-hands-on-deck approach. Now it is time that we take full measures of the crisis at hand and decide that as members of the Black community, we are the ones who stand to lose the most and can least afford to sit idle and silent as the communities lack critical resources, are targets for racially motivated violence, and are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. That is why we have joined this coalition of organizations and individuals who are working diligently for what we feel is in need of our best interest of the Black community. And we would like to encourage our allies and members of the public to stand in solidarity with us as we work to bring awareness and solutions to some of the most pressing issues of our time and for Black Americans living in Iowa. So we just really want to take the time. We support what's going on. We support this union, and we understand that there's things that need to be done, and we need to come together to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but definitely not least, we're going to have Abena speak.
Good morning. My name is Abena Imhotep, and I'm the director of Sankofa Literary and Empowerment Group, where we celebrate the legacies and stories of the Black diaspora by reading books by Black authors. In so doing, I've learned that 157 years before the founding of the United States of America, Black people were brought here against their will in 1619. We've been here since 157 years before the founding of the United States of America. And since that time, no one has ever documented that African Americans were on the wrong side of history. We have never been on the wrong side of history in terms of human rights. And so we're here today to support one another and to stand together and to stand in our power and say enough is enough. We will not take any more. We are joining together, and we look forward to the outpouring of support from our community friends and from community stakeholders as well. Thank you, peace, and love.
Thank you again so much for everyone that came out today. We thought this press conference was really important. We want to thank the media for coming and covering this. Once again, follow hashtag Black Emergency IA. Please spread that hashtag, post it on your social medias. Be looking for future stuff to come out of this coalition. This is just the beginning. And yeah, thank you again for coming out.